Hey guys, so on Saturday night, I was very interested. I love my hot takes, but I wanted to know what some of your all's hot takes were. I kind of got this idea from MKBHD to read a hot take and then say whether I think it's a good or a bad take. That's what we're going to get into. And guys, if you want to join us in these conversations, you can, number one, join me on my Patreon, patreon.com/DocKing, or you can just join us on the Getting Bigger subreddit, r/Getting Bigger, where me and my partner BD, where if you haven't checked out his channel, check it out. We go through different PE amongst other wonderful moderators on there. Here's the first hot take. Manual methods are a waste of time even for beginners. Why anything that requires active engagement exponentially makes things harder to stay consistent. Stopwatch and intervals can make things annoying. It takes both hands to do most things efficiency. Why do them at all? You're too broke, or you're traveling. So do I think this is a good or bad take? Honestly, I think this is actually a pretty good take. I mean, he makes some very valid points. Obviously, if you haven't seen my video on manual stretches, check it out. For length, I only use manual stretches. I've never used a device for length since I've been actively doing this for the past 3 years, maybe even 3.5 years almost at this point. It is much harder to get right. If you're using an extender, for example, you can kind of set it or forget it. First of all, I think manual exercises for girth work, I won't say that's a waste of time, but I think it's really hard to get that right, to actually get gains from that, and takes a good amount of, honestly, just hand strength, etc. If you're doing any kind of girth work, I do think you need to be more actively involved because you want to maximize your erection quality while you're doing it. So overall, I think that's actually a pretty good take. So good take. All right, so here's the next highest upvoted one. So people, mainly Hink, LMAO, should go easy on guys who don't have starting picks when reporting gains. When a lot of guys start PE, they don't care about how much they will gain, they just want a bigger D, and nobody knows how it will work before they make gains. I, for one, want to reach my goal size and pretend that I was always that size, so I never took before picks, as I don't want to remember how small I was. So that's reasonable, obviously. So I have no problem if some guys wants to go on there on a subreddit and be like, I gained, an inch and a half, and they just have an after picture. That's fine. Hats off, more power to you. I'm trying to be much more body positive with people that post online and don't have either good measurements or don't have measurements at all, just because I don't want every picture to be, everybody's throwing stones at these guys. You don't have exact measurements. You don't have this. At the end of the day, these guys are putting themselves out there, especially on our subreddit. I don't want there to be all that negativity. But my problem is these guys that are honestly selling stuff. That being said, I have verifiable gains, and no, none of this stuff will directly make you bigger. If you take vigor and you don't get injured, and therefore you can train longer and harder and you recover faster, then yeah, that could indirectly, but none of this is a magic pill. But there's people that are selling devices, they're selling programs, they're selling compression hangers, whatever it may be. These guys that are motivated, or even just these guys that go on there and they're, I used DHT cream and I gained 2 inches, and they don't have evidence of their starting size. And I'm not saying some people don't have legitimate reasons why not. BD says, oh dude, I was 16 when I started, and I'm not going to put pictures of my 16-year-old D on the internet. That's child stuff. Yeah, I get it. That makes sense. But still, here's a good example. Maybe this is a dumb example. So, maybe you can just tell from my wingspan. I'm 6'5", guys. I'm a very large guy. Guys want to be taller. So if I got on the internet and I said, guys, 2 years ago, I was 5'11", but due to my new Hink height enhancing program, I'm now 6'5", and I only have evidence of me being 6'5", and people actually start buying my program. I don't know, I just think that there's inherent problems with that, and people need to question that. And I also think if these methods that these guys are saying work as effectively as they do, then there should be more evidence of their growth, even just their interval growth. If they're saying it's reasonable to put on an inch in a year, and yet they have been doing PE actively and monitoring their stuff for 4 years, and they haven't clearly put on an inch, then that is flawed. And I don't want to make enemies, but I also want to call out what I feel is kind of bullshit that is pervasive in this whole PE sphere. So I hear you, but I try to only go to call out guys that make these claims when they will financially benefit or benefit otherwise from it and don't have evidence of where they started at. My take. So I think that's a bad take. I mean, that's a reasonable take. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to throw shade at you, but I'm going to label that Bad take. And before I move on, the other reason that that's a bad take is because before you start any of this, you should take inventory of your junk, even if you never share it. If you don't know what the dorsal vein of your junk looks and you start doing PE and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I think my vein appears more distended or it appears more discolored, and you don't know what it looked before starting PE because you don't have documentation of it, then you're asking for trouble right there. So even if you don't share it, you need to document all your D in both the flaccid and erect states. You need to document the underside, how hard the glands of your penis is compared to the shaft of your penis. You need to document all these things so you know what's normal. So if something happens, you know what's abnormal. So yeah, I'm gonna double down on that. That's a double bad take. Dude, it's all love. I'm just kind of messing with you, man. So here's an interesting one. So I got a couple. Tunica warm-up doesn't do jack. You're softly massaging a tissue that's constantly expanding and retracting and is already very malleable. Waste of time, in my opinion. Measuring strain is bro science and probably useless. It overcomplicates things unnecessarily. All right. I'm gonna have to tread very carefully here. Because, I'm gonna go ahead and say BD and Perv are very pro both of these techniques. And we did a podcast, and so I've already gone on the record with Perv when he was, oh yeah, I measured down to the millimeter. And I'm like, dude, that's bullshit. No disrespect to Perv. Nice dude. He knows what he's talking about. And do I believe that he can actually measure down to the millimeter? I do. I think he's trained, and I think he's been doing this long enough and he can do it. Do I think that the average person can do that? No. Let's just start at the top. Tunica warm-up doesn't do jack. So I disagree with that to the extent that I don't do massages. I don't do the gua sha blade. Now, please, for the love of Christ, don't be, oh, Hink said he doesn't do gua sha blade, so that means it doesn't work. No, it just means I don't do it. It doesn't mean it doesn't work. It means that I personally haven't dug deep into the science for that and researched it. And also, I'm lucky if I get 20 minutes a day to do any kind of PE at this point in my life. And so I'm not going to spend even 5 minutes of that doing some kind of massaging or a gua sha blade just because I don't have time for that. So I'm not saying it doesn't work. I do think you need to do some kind of tunica warm-up. For me, especially because for tunica warm-up for me is prior to doing girth work, and that's manual stretches for me. Here's maybe a hot take, but I think you need to be doing length and girth at the same time, and I've said that before. So I do manual stretches with work on my length, but while I'm doing that stretching, I think it's also priming my tunica. Then it's already in this stretched out state, so then when I go to do girth work, it's more prone to expansion. That's a theory, guys. I cannot point to any kind of paper or any kind of, whatever. To me, that is definitely bro science. Yeah, it makes sense in my mind, so, that's why I do it. But it makes sense for me, and I've researched this. Find out what makes sense for you. But back to the measuring strain, okay? Measuring strain is bro science and probably useless. No disrespect, I'm not calling anybody out, but do I agree with that take? I do. I'm sorry BD, I'm sorry Perv, I do. I agree with that. I won't say it's probably useless because I do think there's metrics you can gain from it, but I just don't see how you can reliably measure something, okay, down to the millimeter when there's just, even if we're talking about how hydrated or dehydrated you are, that's going to affect your fat pad, which can throw something off in the order of multiple millimeters. And so I just don't see how you could do that reliably. Maybe Perv can make a response video saying, or BD saying how wrong I am, but quite honestly, dude, I think this is a good take. Whatever. Hot take, oh man, I'm in peak form tonight, boy.
Biggest in the game.
But guys, if it's working for you, it's working for a lot of guys. Some guys need that objective. They need their type A, and I need it to do this, this, and this, and this for it to work. If you are that type of person, measuring strain, I think that is literally the perfect thing for you. If you're somebody that's me, I'm just gonna grab and hold on and just pull on it for, a few minutes until my hand gets tired, then switch hands. Clearly, I'm still getting gains without measuring strain. It just depends on what works best for you. On to the next. All right, guys, this is a long one. So yeah, let's get into it. So rest is as much, if not more important than actively stretching or expanding. He has 15 takes on here, so I'm gonna go by one by one. Now guys, please, if you can take nothing else from this video, just know that this is my personal opinion. This does not mean it's right or it's wrong. I'm happy to be proven wrong. And I don't have actual science or papers where I can use to, oh, this is the evidence why I think this guy's wrong. This is just my bro science opinion. So just don't give too much weight to anything I say. I've said that all the time. I'm not gonna be one of these guys that's, I'm an expert, listen to me. No, I'm not an expert. I've researched this stuff. I think I know more than most people about PE, especially pathophys, whatever, but just don't put too much weight on anything I say. So rest is as much, if not more important than actively stretching or expanding. Personally, I think that's a bad take. For that, I mean, I do PE 7 days a week. Now, I don't do it very long. Sometimes at most, maybe 45 minutes, usually somewhere on the order of about 10 to 20 minutes per day, maybe 30 minutes if I'm really, really lucky. I don't think I need more than 23 and a half hours to recover, but I don't think rest is nearly as important as people make it out to be. Hot take here. Most penile injuries can be completely healed in 3 weeks if you stop all. Yes, that's a good take, because most people don't even realize what an injury is. They have a minor strain in their buccal fascia, and they don't even know what buccal fascia is. Probably most, what's buccal fascia, Hink? So most injuries, yeah, actually can be healed in 3 weeks or less. If you stop all PE and stop all masturbation, absolutely. So great take on that. There's no secret formula other than consistency. Double thumbs up. Great take on that. Newbie gains are mostly an EQ or regaining lost size due to age and other factors. Great take on that. I kind of hate the term newbie gains just because, I don't know, I'm just an old cantankerous man, and these kids on their skateboards with their loud music. Get off my lawn. I do think part of my gains, my before and after gains, I get a lot of crap for my, like, not a lot of crap, not at all, but every now and then somebody be like, yeah, I don't know, that before picture looks a little sus. Yeah, it's because my EQ was much worse. Without a doubt, my EQ has improved dramatically, and that has resulted, I would certainly say that's, I probably gained about a quarter of an inch just in EQ gains alone, not actual tissue gains. And so, yes, that's a great, I mean, Captain, of course, I know Captain Obvious, but he does a great job. But yeah, plateaus are a vicious cycle. Lack of gains, mostly giving up rather than pushing through it. I don't know, that's a neutral take. I don't know how I feel about that. PDE inhibitors are almost a necessity. So Cialis to be precise. I wish I had more thumbs to give them titties 4 thumbs down. If you know, you know.
I wish I had more hands so I could give those titties 4 thumbs down.
But you know, that's a great take. Obviously, I've made several videos on that. I low-key think Cialis should be mandatory in anybody over the age of 28 that's doing PE. A grower will always be a grower. Yes, the flaccid will get longer, but it does not suddenly transform to the same properties that a shower has. So I don't know, I've never like seen a true shower up front, so I don't know how I feel about that. But so I'm definitely a grower. Acorn gang. My flaccid D used to literally be, especially in the wintertime if I was working out, it would literally sit a little acorn on top of my testicles. But yet I was above average as far as length. And now, low-key, I kind of have a flaccid D. Oh, hear me, I'm flexing on you guys. But my flaccid D is actually probably at least average erect penile size. It's at least as big, if not bigger, than the average erect penile size. Now, I kind of disagree with that because I do feel like that does make me a shower now. I used to hate gray sweatpants season, and now you can see even when I'm wearing shorts, it's gray sweatpants shorts, baby, you know. But for real, I do think you can become a grower. So I think that's a bad take. So the undiscussed benefits of packing the tube. Personally, I mean, maybe neutral take. Never push through any pain or injury. That's definitely not hot take. That's common sense, but obviously it's a good take. PE takes time. Even if doctors came out and admitted that it worked, only a small percentage of men. Yes, dude, I have a whole video about what's realistic goals. It's probably going to be out by the time this video comes out. But it's what's possible is different than what's realistic. So that's a great take. So overall, dude, excellent takes. So two Hink approved, 2 thumbs up. So here's one by The Blind Traveler. Biohacking PE is awesome, but sometimes it feels like it makes so much more complicated than necessary. Supposedly people have made great gains with old, outdated, simple routines. So I don't know how important it is to add 5 warm-up sets and heat and red light, yada, yada, yada. So dude, I mean, this is my video. I think that's a great take. I'm not throwing shade on anybody. I'm not trying to, whatever. I'm tired of just giving disclaimers, so I'm just gonna talk. I'm not trying to offend anybody. If you get offended, you know, my bad. But yes, I've said this before. I mean, it's kind of cliche to be, oh, keep it simple, stupid. But I do think that you should just keep it simple, stupid. You don't need to overcomplicate things. And I agree, heat and red light, I just don't think that's necessary to get gains. Now, that being said, could that possibly expedite gains? Yeah, absolutely. Could it? Some of this stuff has kind of some real science behind it. Some of it has pseudoscience, and some of it is very strongly bro science that, you know, some people still preach. It's, you know, scripture. Overall, yeah, I think keep it simple and keep it consistent, and that is the key to gains. Great take. So here's one that I love already. He says, manuals aren't really dangerous. Some people are just too dumb to be trusted with making judgment calls on what force is appropriate. So, dude, double thumbs up, man. That's not fair to say too dumb. I just think people are overzealous. I can't wait to get bigger, and now I know this is possible, and they're like, let's get to it. And it's, dude, how have you missed everybody that says apply gradual pressure? I'm gonna make a new shortened video on manual stretches, what I recommend. Maybe even literally a short to be just the basics in 60 seconds or less, so people can watch that and hopefully not get injured as much. But people don't get as injured as much with manuals as people think. All the guys that are, oh my God, manuals are so dangerous, are the ones selling compression hangers. Yes, I'm talking about you. Or guys that are affiliates that have promo codes for different kind of extenders or are selling extenders. So manuals gets a bad rap. That's a great take. Double thumbs up. So here's one from my guy, Older Breeder. Gains don't matter unless they're permanent. That's definitely a hot take, and I can see that. I think that's a bad take. And the reason is because it depends on who you are. But for all my bodybuilders out there, when you go to the gym and you look at yourself before your workout, and then you get a pump, your muscles are popping, your veins are popping, you're feeling good, and you kind of look, a different person, but it's a temporary pump, that is still very validating. Now, if you use a pump and you pump up and you gain and you put on a quarter of an inch to maybe even a half an inch, depending on how long you pump, yeah, that in itself, if that's temporary, is not that great. But if you do that and then you go and you engage in some sort of interaction with the female and she's like, oh my God, you're huge. Even though that's a temporary thing, that's gonna feel good. That's validating. For me, it was helpful. Even when I first got into pumping and I just, put on the pump and came out and was, whoa, who is this? I've never seen myself this. To me, that was still validating and rewarding. And I mean, I get it. I will give that I'll give that a neutral take. I still think temporary gains are very, very underrated. Here's a spicy one here. The vascular development of the Angion method is extremely helpful for some people. I've gained a quarter of an inch in girth in 4 years of traditional PE, 2 years off, and pushing the far limits of the Angion approach has netted me 0.5 inches in girth. Guys, I promise I can read. I'm not the strongest reader. I am literate though, I can assure you. Since last December, different bodies respond to different methods. I've addressed the Angion so many times, guys. Personally, whatever. If it worked for you, good for you. I just don't understand how that is going. Oh no, you need to buy the wheel. That's the trick. It's not even like I don't understand. Physiologically, I understand that. It's just some of the stuff that Janice has said in the past is just so physiologically and anatomically wrong that I can't get past that. I can't get past it. When he said the heart is not responsible for pumping blood into the body, I can't get past that. To me, that is just, nope, that's a non-starter. So if it worked for you, good. Personally, I think that Angion method is kind of dog shit. Whatever. I had a public beef with Janice, so I'm sure I'm biased in that regard. But if you want to do it, more power to you. But don't think that it's safe, guys, because just go on, PE injuries, the subreddit PE injuries, or just look on our subreddit and type in Angion and type in injury afterwards. You will see that there are guys that injure themselves with the Angion method. So it's just not this, oh, it's the only safe. No, it's not that safe. Just saying. And dude, come on, man. Saber strikes. Yeah, that's the trick. That's what's gonna do it. Get out of here, man. Come on. But I'm not throwing shade at you, man. If it worked for you, good. I think that's a bad take. So we're gonna do one more, I think. A 626 Emperor. This is a dude that's always been cool with me. I think this is the man who's always been nice and we've been cool. But anyways, I think I love this take. Okay, let me finish reading it first. Ligament stretching isn't a real thing. It literally doesn't do anything for PE. Most people want to make PE more complicated than it should be, when in reality, it's stupidly simple. It's just time-consuming and slow. So this might be the Golden Hink Award for the best take of the night. I mean, so ligament stretching isn't a real thing. So yes and no. I don't know how many times I have to say this. And fortunately, I haven't really seen this come up by any of the thought leaders in PE in a while. If you have your suspensory ligament, okay, when you are erect and your thing is coming off the pelvis, it connects to here to keep you up higher. My forearm's looking pretty beefy right there. Hink, I see you, dog. Literally, when you do suspensory ligament surgery, you cut that suspensory ligament, it does not increase erect length. That is a scientific, medical, urologic fact. So if cutting that ligament does not increase the size of your member, why in the hell would it make sense that by stretching it, that would increase length? It does not make sense, period. Now, could you get an increase in actual flaccid size? Yes. That has been proven in the literature that by cutting that ligament, your flaccid will in fact hang lower, okay, or hang longer. But you sacrifice potential damage to that neurovascular bundle, causing you permanent erectile dysfunction, and you sacrifice any kind of stability. So, your D will move this when you're engaging in intercourse, and you could potentially have somebody come down and break it. I mean, yeah, I agree 100%. Whatever, I'm full-blown hot take tonight. I question the legitimacy of anybody that mentions that, oh yeah, oh, those are probably ligament gains. I'm just like, wait, what? I mean, unless they're talking about flaccid D, that's just horseshit, guys. I'm sorry. And now this is the one thing that I can say I have medical fact to back me up on. So yes, that is definitely a good take. And yeah, we've already covered this, but yeah, people to make things more complicated than it should be. Once again, that's my take. But who knows, guys? Maybe in medicine, when they first had penicillin, and people were treating penicillin with everything, people are trying to come up with new antibiotics and overcomplicating things. I mean, guys, that's how we make progress. That's how we discover new things, is by addressing new topics and experimenting and doing these new techniques. I also think it's stupid to just fundamentally be, BD's talking about using a gua sha blade. Oh, that's just he's just overcomplicating it. These new guys with their, bogus techniques, that's not fair, because that literally could be the next game changer. There could be a paper that comes out in Journal of Urology that talks about how gua sha blades in itself, when combined with PDE5 inhibitors, lead to growth. I do think that people overcomplicate things, but I also think trying to overcomplicate and trying new things and trying new ideas is what's going to help this field grow. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this. I absolutely had a great time tonight. We're definitely going to do this again. So save your hot takes, or matter of fact, don't save them. Leave them below. Let me know some of your hot takes, and I will make a part 2 video. If you guys like this video and we get, let's just say, 300 likes on this video, okay, I will make a hot take part 2 based on the comments in this video below. Love you guys. Appreciate the support. Peace and love, guys.